G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website and YouTube channel Kangaroo Court of Australia. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of videos in relation to Rupert Murdoch. He's been trending over the last few days, last few weeks, and it's probably because the UK are about to have an election in July 2024, and the US are going to have a presidential election in November 2024. In Australia, well, we're due an election in the next 12 months, and we could possibly have an election before the end of the year. Now, the first video was Owen Jones in the UK. I don't know him, but he's got over 1 million followers on Twitter, and he's on Sky News, and he absolutely gives it to Rupert Murdoch. Now, Sky News in the UK is no longer controlled by Rupert Murdoch. It hasn't been since 2018 when it was taken over by a US company called Comcast. So let's have a listen to what Owen Jones says.
How do you think Rupert Murdoch's going to be remembered?
Well, Rupert Murdoch is the most poisonous individual of my lifetime. 20 years ago, just as an example, on the road to war in Iraq, Rupert Murdoch owns 175 newspapers all around the world, and all 175 newspapers backed the Iraq war. They softened up public opinion for what was a calamity which took the lives of hundreds of thousands of people and unleashed terrible blood and chaos. And why do I mention that? Because it shows that the idea that we have this free press, with all these newspaper outlets and media outlets around full of rigorous journalism, coincidentally all backed this catastrophic war. Many other examples, though. In the 1980s, when the bodies of hundreds of thousands of gay men were being ravaged by AIDS all over the world, his newspapers whipped up the most vile bigotry against gay men. If you think about the United States, we mentioned Fox News. Their peddling of conspiratorial nonsense about the Obama administration, the Islamophobia, that paved the way for Donald Trump, who he spoke to every single week when he was president. Or if you think about the climate emergency, spreading climate denialism about what is an existential threat to human civilization, his attacks on migrants, refugees.
So you're a big fan then, right?
Well, huge fan. But I think it's really important we say this because this isn't just some media owner. This guy is a politician. He's a very, very powerful political figure who has, without being elected by a single person, had a huge disruptive and pernicious and poisonous impact in our democracy, Australian democracy, US democracy, and democracies all over the world.
Now, the next video is by Brian Tyler Cohen in the US. He's a commentator over there. He has his own YouTube channel, and he absolutely gives it to Rupert Murdoch. So let's have a listen to what he says.
You want to see how disinformation spreads like wildfire? Here's a video posted by the New York Post, purporting to show Joe Biden wandering off at the G7 summit in Italy, with officials needing to pull him back to focus. It was viewed over 4 million times on Twitter, only small problem. When you don't purposefully narrow the frame, you notice that Biden wasn't wandering off, he was addressing a skydiver who just landed. He was giving a thumbs up to the dude who literally parachuted down from the sky. But because the New York Post, owned of course by Rupert Murdoch, has a political agenda, they have no qualms about manipulating what you see by chopping off the frame to make it look like Joe Biden is in cognitive decline. If they're looking for cognitive decline, by the way, maybe focus on the Republican nominee for president who thinks you need ID to buy bread, and that World War II hasn't happened yet, and that Nikki Haley was in charge of security at the Capitol on January 6th. In the meantime, if you want to combat disinformation, do yourself a favor and block outlets like the New York Post that exist to spread lies to help themselves politically.
Now, the next video is Linda Ronstadt in the 1980s doing an interview with Don Lane. It was probably on his show, the Don Lane Show. And she absolutely gives it to Rupert Murdoch too. So he's been despised around the world since the 1980s at least, if not longer. So let's have a listen to what she says.
It's amazing to me that people read, stuff in People magazine or the National Enquirer. Your press down there is really, you gave us Rupert Murdoch. Yeah, the most horrible man in the world. Thanks a lot. No, you're American, I forgot.
Yeah, no, I've been here 18
Australia
years.
gave us Rupert Murdoch. Thanks a lot, you guys. Take him back. We don't need him here.
When you get those, he's the king of the rags, actually.
He's very irresponsible too. You see these screaming headlines in his newspapers about politics or about a shooting or a killing that are only made to inflame, terror and horror, and it drives me crazy. It's plain all irresponsible. That's all it is.
Yeah, good on you. I'm glad.
It's bad for journalism. It's bad for journalism. It's bad for the responsible journalists that are out there.
So it looks like the people in Australia, the UK and the US are all aligned in their dislike for Rupert Murdoch. Well, a lot of people are. Only the fools who he's brainwashed actually support him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the elections in the UK. That's only a couple of weeks away in July 2024. Then the USA presidential election in November 2024, and Australia, well, it could be an election any time from now in the next 12 months or so. And that'll be pretty interesting for us, obviously, in Australia here. But we'll see what happens and see what impact Murdoch does or doesn't have. Because while he is despised around the world, his influence is starting to weaken with the growth of social media and the growth of independent journalism. Anyhow, Kangaroo Court of Australia's independent media. I publish a website and a YouTube channel, and I'm 100% crowdfunded from viewers like yourself, so please support my Patreon account. Currently have 425 supporters donating $2,412 a month, and I need to almost double that to become financially viable. And you can donate any amount, $3, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50 a month, whatever suits your budget. It all helps out. And the link for the Patreon account is below this video on YouTube and also on my website. And please share this video on social media, and please hit the like and subscribe button. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.